Already he's getting baking soda, huh?
Yeah, and he's been getting a lot of transfusions lately, just because, well, his body only has about 3 tablespoons of blood in it.
Is that all?
Yeah.
3 tablespoons, wow.
Yeah. You're a very smart boy.
No, I am not. I am a mad boy.
What does that mean?
Hey, I am a mad boy.
Oh, I don't think you're a mad boy. You look like a happy boy to me.
No, I am not happy boy. I am a mad boy.
All right, second half. Now that I've gotten through the bioethical dilemma, which is the inspiration behind why I care about this and why I wrote the book and why we're writing letters to the national associations, talk about our experience in the NICU and what it was like having a preemie. The first part of the talk just focused solely on the first day. This is about the next 5 months. So over the next 5 months, we had what was called a protected contact baby. And the protected contact is actually a zookeeping term. And zookeeping is relevant because my wife is a zookeeper. She came to Spokane in 2007 to study zookeeping at the Cattails Zoological Training Center up in halfway between here and Meade. And had an excellent time there, and then got hired as a zookeeper at the Point Defiance Zoo and Aquarium. And what protected contact means is that when you have a dangerous large animal, that you can have limited interactions with the animal, but you have some bars between you and the animal so that the animal can have, in this case, an elephant at the Oakland Zoo, can put out his feet to be tended to by the zookeeper, but the elephant can't get through and either accidentally or intentionally trample the zookeeper. And in fact, with the elephants, this is a big problem. Actually, elephants are the most dangerous animals in any zoo because of the trampling hazard. Tigers are actually only the third most dangerous, interestingly enough. And so my wife has lots of experience with protected contact care. And so when we got into the NICU and we could be allowed to touch our baby once every 3 hours to change his diaper and take his temperature through the little hand windows in the incubator, she says, "Oh, we have a protected contact baby." We had a 5-month stay in the NICU, and I'm going to just briefly go over the various conditions and challenges that he had. I'm not going to explain each individual condition because this is a nursing school, although it's very tempting for me to turn into amateur teacher and say, oh, here's what bronchopulmonary dysplasia is. But so here I go. He had 5 weeks on the ventilator, which they considered too long, and this caused some irritation in his lungs, or bronchopulmonary dysplasia. Not a severe case. He was able to grow out of it eventually. He also was born with patent ductus arteriosus, which they were able to correct with indomethacin, not by the terrifying alternative, which would have been open heart surgery to tie off a little extra vein that was the size of the width of a human hair, and it was almost certain to pinch one of his vocal cords in the process. He was diagnosed with congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which was probably a false positive, but it sure did scare us when the diagnosis came. He got 1 infection that went septic. It started out as a urinary tract infection and then showed up in other parts of his body. It was caught relatively early, and he was put on quite an aggressive set of antibiotics at that point. Had a PICC line in his scalp, which was downright scary looking, but it appeared one thing we learned is that the scalp actually has a vein that's great for catheters. So you learn something new. We learn something new every day there. He got stage 2 retinopathy of prematurity, which he was able to self-correct without needing any surgery. And he did not feed enough on his own. And that's why, that's one of the reasons we stayed there 5 months and not 3.5, like a number of other babies did. And that meant he got surgery for a gastric tube, which he still has. The infection I mentioned up above that went septic, that happened at about the equivalent of 30 or 31 weeks of gestation, which is the time, this very narrow window for preemies when they would have to be learning to suck from nipples. And so he was just getting started on that, and he got the infection, and that knocked him out of action for a week, and he just never caught up. And so that's actually one of the things that keeps kids in the NICU longer is inability to self-feed. However, thankfully, he did not get the two things that were most scary, which was necrotizing enterocolitis and a brain bleed. Those are the things that had the potential for doing the most damage to him, and we got absolutely zero of either. And so that's one of the reasons that it came out as well as it did. So here's a picture of him at 5 weeks of age with a pair of, I can't remember if those are my arms or my hands or Miri's hands in the incubator there. The March of Dimes had a volunteer photographer, a professional photographer who would come in once a month to take pictures of parents and their babies. And so we got 5 of these series of professional pictures. And that was something that actually meant a huge deal to us to get these really lovely pictures. And as you can see, the vacuum cleaner hose looking thing on his face is a CPAP, which is uglier than a ventilator. However, it is gentler. And so the fact that he's on that device is progress. And then you spend too much time in the NICU, you start thinking up things like this. This is Gabriel's, we were staring at the incubator, and that's pretty much all you can do in between cares. And so I thought, well, wouldn't it be nice if this incubator could be some sort of, place where our son goes on amazing adventures. So we put Snoopy's typewriter on top of it. And then here's his first bath. And so by here he's starting to look like a baby rather than a wrinkly old man who happens to be 1.5 pounds. And so he was very cooperative for this first bath, and we just had it was a very wonderful experience, and the nurses guided us through it, and he was still hooked up to maybe 2 of his monitors at that point, and so it took quite a bit of acrobatics to do it, but that's what the nurses were really good at, was just very gently moving this line over, okay, and it went without a hitch. It was wonderful. And then this is him at 4 months of age when he would have been at term. He was, I think, 7.5 pounds at that point. We actually were able to catch him smiling, and so he's got the chubby cheeks, and he's a little bigger, and still has the vapotherm on his nose, which is a step down from the CPAP. And then this is going home in the front of out in front of Swedish Medical Center. Very first time Gabriel had seen the light of day, actually gotten out of been outdoors. And so that was at 5 months of age, after 5 months in the NICU. And so I want to also just talk about some of the helpful things that nurses did for us while we were in the NICU. One was saving holding tasks for him for when we came. If they knew we were coming and he needed a bath, they wouldn't give him the bath until we got there, so we could give him the bath. Or when he was 2 weeks old, they needed to switch out his incubator with another one, because every 2 weeks you switch the incubator to clean the old one. And so they held that task until we showed up, and then it was about 3 of nurses getting all the lines. He had to still be plugged into everything, getting him out of the incubator, and they gave Gabriel to Miri while he was still on the ventilator in her arms, and she was able to hold him for 10 minutes while they did all the taking apart of the incubator and putting back together of the new one. And that meant a huge deal to us. Other things that they did to help us were some neutral words when, like such as "he's acting his age" when the DSAT alarm goes off. The DSAT alarm means that your child doesn't have enough blood in his, or doesn't have enough oxygen in his blood, and that means, crudely stated, that means your child's asphyxiating, and so that's got to go be repaired. So they don't say your child's asphyxiating. They don't say, oh, he'll get better in a minute, because we knew he wouldn't. They don't say, oh, he's declining. Say, well, he's acting his age. And that meant a lot to us, just that this is to help us interpret these bizarre things, these bizarre devices and monitors that we'd never seen before, to understand them. And one of the things that all NICU parents go through is coming to know their child through the monitors on the screen. You end up staring at the saturation level, just imagining that as some kind of horse race, hoping that your child keeps his blood saturation up, rather than actually looking in the window and seeing what the kid is doing in there. Once, during a diaper change, I noticed something about the baby. His scrotum seemed to be a bit larger than it should be, and my wife says, boy, it's a good thing you're a boy, because I wouldn't have thought of that. And then she said, the nurse says, I'll tell the doctor, and the doctor will probably order an X-ray. And she said it in an official tone, so I thought, oh no, have I stepped out of bounds and challenged the nurse on something? And she's just said, no, she was just taking me seriously. And then it turned out he did have a hernia. And it was not a major problem. They waited 2 months to correct it when they did the gastric tube surgery, but just the fact that it was found, it was easy to repair, and that they took me seriously. When they were teaching us how to change his diaper, and they were letting us do that from the very beginning, to change his diaper and to do his temperature, they said, well, don't worry, you won't hurt him, which meant a lot to us, because you just see this fragile child the size of your hand who's the color of a lobster. You think, well, gosh, I'm certain to hurt him. It was also important to have the nurse as an advocate for when the doctor forgets about you on a particular condition, especially with a patient who's got 14 conditions. In this case, it was congenital adrenal hyperplasia, which we're pretty sure was a false positive. But then 2 months later, we're asking, so what about the congenital adrenal hyperplasia? Is he going to be declared to be free of that, or is this something that's ongoing? And so we were able to get the nurse to call over to that doctor several times, and the answer came back, well, it's not as severe as it used to be, let's wait and see, which means that he didn't want to admit it was a false positive, but whatever. One suggestion I would make at this point is also figuring out how to balance HIPAA with the parents trying to understand the NICU neighborhood. Because the NICU at Swedish Medical Center is darned cramped. It was built in the 80s, and there is about that much space between incubators. And so they'll give you a chair, and you can sit in between those, but then there's this other baby that's 36 inches from your head, who is not yours, and you're not allowed to know anything about that child. And one day I came in and sat down next to my child, and he seemed to be doing okay, relatively. And then I look over at the next station over, which is that far away, and there's this new baby they're doing some kind of procedure on her that involves all kinds of bloody gauze, and the mother is sitting there looking very intense and very exhausted too, just kind of shaking. And they let me in, and I asked my nurse, my child's nurse, how much longer are they going to be doing that? You want me to step out? And she just said, well, I don't know, and I really can't tell you. And so, there's these other families that are nearby that have needs. Of course, they have privacy needs, but there's also some kind of interaction that needs to occur between the families in the NICU. The March of Dimes was putting on pizza nights once every 2 weeks, and that was wonderful. But just some kind of way to say hello to the other families in there who are even, they're having the worst times of their lives right there. They probably don't want to be bothered much, but I think just the tiniest little recognitions that these other people are here, then they care. There needs to be some way of doing that, and I just don't feel that there was. In newer facilities, the standards are that it's 4 to a room rather than 6 or 8, as it is at Swedish, and that the rooms are slightly larger so that you actually have a good, 5 or 6 feet from between you and the other baby. So, to explain how Gabriel came out, he is now he's now still on the feeding tube for most liquids. We spent about 18 months with a pump providing all food and liquids, pureed, blenderized foods, and he's now eating all purees through mouth, most liquids through the tube. He eats by mouth and is stuck on purees. And Trader Joe's full-fat Greek yogurt is $1.99 per tub, or sometimes $2.49 per tub, and we go through like 5 of them a week. It's just the nectar of the gods for this kid, and it's high in calorie, and we have no idea, why he loves it so much. Because most kids, they taste something that's sour, or they just well, anyway. He has small kidneys, below the 5th percentile for where they should be. And so his nephrologist has diagnosed this as stage 1 kidney disease, which in his case means that we have to stay away from ibuprofen because that's metabolized by the kidneys. So she's diagnosed him with this just to be a signal to doctors later on that you can't do any procedures on him that would stress the kidneys or provide medications that would. He is very slender. The nephrologist thinks that this is great. The dietitian and the gastroenterologist call him malnourished. This is one of the aspects of NICU life for parents, is that you have specialists pulling you in 2 different directions at once. And we happen to think he's about as fat as we're going to get him. They keep saying things like, give him formula through the tube, Pediasure. And we do that, and 3 hours later he vomits right on schedule. So, we were just... The meeting with the dietitian once every 2 months has to be our least favorite activity. He's also speech delayed, and he goes to a developmental preschool, which is provided by the school district at no cost, which means a huge deal to us. And let's see. Oh, I guess that was my last slide. I'm done. Okay. And that is the end of my prepared presentation. Just that I am continuing to work on this book project. I could talk for quite a while about how hard it is to get a book published. I'm on Twitter at Preemie Dad. I am on Facebook, and then I'm going to have out later little sign-up forms for an email newsletter where I talk about all the things that are going on in the world of preemies and their care, and also the progress of the book project.
Great. Why don't we take a break at this time? So take 10, and then we'll come back and do questions and answers. Thank you so much.
My brother was actually born, he has similar diagnosis to your baby, and he was born 3 months early. He had bronchopulmonary dysplasia. Now he lives normal life, but I was wondering if your baby ever took Exosurf.
What?
Exosurf for his lungs.
Surfactant.
Yes.
I don't remember the specific type of surfactant. I think there's like 9 surfactants available. But yes, I mean, he got surfactant, and that's...
My brother was a part of the trial during that time, and now it's the standard of care. And I was like texting my dad, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's here talking about his baby.
Oh.
I just thought it was kind of cool. But how old is your baby now?
He's 4.
Okay.
Or he's about to turn 4, which means he's really 3.5. But they, for all effects and purposes, they put you on the regular calendar, which is kind of frustrating for development. But where was your brother born?
In Tri-Cities. It was in 1991. That's when the trial was, and now I think now it's a standard of care.
Okay. Did they keep him at Tri-Cities?
They kept him. He was in the hospital for I think 6.
Can you go talk to the IT man?
Oh, on the phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd like to hear more.
Okay.
How old's your brother now?
25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
That's
he's
impressive.
He's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's impressive how you'll have just such a wide range of outcomes for any one group of kids. And yeah, you'll have kids like Gabriel that seem to come out with minimal impairment, and then you'll have kids who just come out really profoundly disabled, and so it's.
I think my mom was also high risk. She had him at 39 and me at 41. And so I was also not as premature. I was about a little over a month and a half early, but I didn't have any issues. I think I was just jaundice when I was born. But
Okay.
yeah, so he got all the issues that I didn't get. But I think her age had a lot to do with it, and I think she had some other. I think what's it called, PCOS. There's like a polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think she had that, and so it kind of contributed to it.
Yeah, Miri I think had polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis, which is one of the reasons we've only got one child. It's awfully hard to conceive that way, and so.
That's extremely painful.
Yeah, and we were seeing a fertility specialist, and they, of course, were trying to steer us towards IVF, in vitro fertilization, and we weren't so sure about that just because we have some moral problems with it. But then, so they said, well, let's try letrozole, which is a breast cancer drug that has an off-label use of reducing, acting like an anti-inflammatory on endometriosis. And then that was a $6 bottle of pills, and poof, conception. So we didn't have to spend the $10,000 on IVF.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's amazing. I'll have to tell my third she has endometriosis.
Yeah, and it's not fun. Mary explains to me regularly.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Well, keep Gabriel in sports. Maybe that'll do the trick.
Yeah.
Is he pretty active?
He is. He likes running around. We've done father-son swim lessons.
That's cute.
Parent-child swim lessons, and he's done pretty well with that. He's not able to really swim without somebody having a hand on him yet, but he's gaining skills, and you know,
That's cute.
I've got all kinds of hopes that he'll turn into a good swimmer.
That's right. Well, I'll sign up.
Oh, thank you.